When our beloved front-wheel drive turbo Budget Evo was stolen and recovered with a blown motor, we decided to take on the huge challenge of doing a rear-wheel drive swap using a Nissan Silvia CA18 turbo motor.
This is officially the last time this car will be front-wheel drive.
So I got to work right away removing our blown 4G93 turbo motor.
Ooh-wee.
I removed the fuel tank while I was there as it was going to be in our way, and pretty quickly we had the old motor out, ready to make way for our new CA18 motor. Then we went ahead and removed all of the front wheel drive subframe and assembly, as we wouldn't be needing any of that for the swap. Once that was done, I made a jig with our new S13 Silvia subframe and marked the centre of our engine bay using a laser light. Then I sat the CA18 motor back on the subframe.
The engine is sitting, hopefully, where it will live forever.
Now it's time for some cutting, measuring and welding to make our brand new fully custom frame rails. Once the new frame rails were installed, we drilled holes for our new S13 subframe, bolted it in, and then dropped the motor into its new home, fully bolted up for the first time.
Clearly, we're gonna have to chop a tunnel into this car for the gearbox.
So I removed the interior and started cutting a lot of metal out for the gearbox tunnel.
Hello there.
Before we made the gearbox tunnel, I whipped up a gearbox cross member and bolted it up to make sure the gearbox was in the exact position we wanted it, so the tunnel wouldn't foul on the gearbox at any given point. I made the gearbox tunnel out of sheet metal and just literally used anything I could find in my factory to bend it up. For the complicated parts, I made a cardboard template and then just cut it out and bent it in the vise. And I think it turned out pretty awesome considering.
3, 2, 1. Boom!
Next up, it was time to figure out how we were going to fit our MX-5 subframe into the back of our Lancer. I chose the MX-5 subframe because it's flat and rectangular, making it super easy to install, as you'll see here.
Oh hey, didn't see you there.
So I cut out the stock Lancer rails and just used box section on top of the MX-5 subframe, made a box, and then welded that up in the section where we notched out the Lancer rails. It looks so weird seeing a subframe in the back of the Lancer for the first time. I ended up using S13 coilovers all round in the Lancer, even with the MX-5 subframe, as they seemed to fit. I just drilled new holes for the top hats and they bolted right up, which was pretty awesome. Next up, we tackled the front shock towers. I ended up cutting a hole out of the top of the shock towers and welding in new plates to suit the S13 front coilovers. We gave it a whack of primer and boom, she was all done. Time to fix up the giant holes in our engine bay between our new rails and our old rails. Once that was done, I prepped the engine bay and gave it a lick of paint with some silver sparkle. Dang, that looks good. Time to give our crusty 30-year-old motor a big refresh. Once the motor was done, we put it back in the engine bay, and honestly, this gave me a huge dose of motivation to keep going with the build.
Check that out. That is freaking amazing. Fits so nicely, looks so damn clean.
Next up, it was time to fit our new Evo 5 body kit. Honestly, it took so long to find this kit, but I'm so glad that I did because it completely transformed the car.
I'm not quite sure about this rear bumper. We need to fit it to the car and see what it looks like.
I ended up actually loving this rear bumper, and you'll see later in the video when it's painted, it looks even better. Now it's time to get stuck into the intercooler piping. since we will be using this car on the track from time to time, we thought we'd throw in a half roll cage. Plus it does look pretty sick when you've got a cage in the car. Then I threw a bucket seat in the car and tested out the seating position quickly.
What? Look at that. The cage.
With the cage and seats done, it was time to wire in our Haltech ECU and get the car started for the first time, which is pretty freaking cool.
Lovely, look at that, you've done a good job. Here we go. Woo! Hell yeah!
With the car now running, it was time to sort out the cooling side of things, and of course we had to throw in a Phoenix radiator and intercooler. Next up, I tackled the fuel system, and because we couldn't use the stock fuel tank, I decided to go external fuel cell. Raceworks hooked us up, and I'm so happy with everything they sent out. It really did come together really well.
We have a really exciting thing we're gonna do. The exhaust for the car. Look at that. How freaking sick does that look? We nailed the placement. Take a look at this thing. It is absolutely beautiful. And it looks so good in there.
Once our custom GJ Drivelines drive shaft was installed, I installed the fuel lines and we were ready to spin the rear wheels for the first time.
Hey! That's so weird to see.
After all of this hard work, it's finally time to drive the car out of the shop under its own power and take it to the dyno for a tune. The nerves were definitely high at this point.
Everything seems good.
After a super successful dyno session, it was time to paint the car.
Boom! That is right, we are painting this car dandelion yellow.
So we made a homemade spray booth, prepped the car, got our $49 Bunnings spray gun, and laid some paint.
This thing has turned out so damn cool. Look at that. That is freaking incredible. 3, 2, 1. Booyah! Woo! Yeah, dude. Every time you just add a part to it, it just gets that much better. Alright, Jimmy Oaks' body shop here. Dude, white is a vibe. Done. Happy.
After an insane amount of hard work, it was finally time to put the finishing touches on the car. And honestly, the end result is so much better than any of us could have imagined.
Boom. That's it. What the freaking hell? Absolutely, like, there's just nothing. No words. Here's a quick rear shot for you, just to give you a bit of a holistic view of the car.
What an insane build. This car literally pushed us to the limits with everything we knew about cars. But honestly, it was so worth it. The question is, does it drift? The link for the playlist is in the description if you want to watch the build in depth. Feel free to like and subscribe.